Your Excellency, I know that you've prepared some remarks. Give us a sense of the future of U.S.-French relations.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very glad to be with you today. And as you can imagine, the main topic of discussion this week is the future of global trading system. Maybe you are interested in it. And starting with that, you may be surprised, but I agree with the analysis of the current US administration. Global imbalances must be addressed, including those stemming from non-market practices that distort competition and fuel overcapacities. I wanted to start with that. And to overcome those challenges, dialogue is the best way forward. And regarding the relationship between the European Union, EU, and the US, let me recall some facts. First of all, the EU-US bilateral trade flow is the largest in the world. It has doubled over the last decade. When it comes to services, the US enjoy a very sizable surplus with the EU, thanks to highly innovative American tech sectors that we all know. And as a result, despite what you may hear, when both goods and services are counted, transatlantic trade is almost balanced. For we, Europeans, this is a foundation of shared prosperity and economic security, but also an alliance and friendship that has lasted for generations. EU companies are the largest foreign investors in the United States, with total foreign direct investment stock of 2.6 trillion. We bring capital, jobs, and technology. So, let me say that very simply, we deeply regret the American decision to increase custom duties on imports, including all imports from Europe. It will penalize consumers, businesses, and growth abroad, but also and primarily in the US. The European Union is seeking a negotiated solution, an agreement that would be a win-win for both parties. Nonetheless, the EU is working on targeted and measured response in case we cannot reach a deal rapidly. But let me insist, we very much hope to avoid such actions by reaching an agreement with the US. So let me summarize. I'd like, above all, to send a message of friendship and resolute optimism to our American friends and allies. I'm convinced that the current period of turbulence is worrying but temporary, and the relationship between the US and France, between the US and Europe, has been marked by occasional episodes of misunderstanding and sometimes tension, and we have always overcome them. There are no continents closer economically, politically, or culturally than Europe and America. We share common history, common foundations, common democratic principles, and a common vision of freedom and progress. Our continents have demonstrated unwavering solidarity in difficult times. And let me say that sincerely, France and Europe will forever be grateful for the support given by the United States in the time of great distress in the 20th century. But we have also fought alongside with you when you needed us, and we still do. Today, more than ever, our two continents face common challenges. We'll be stronger if we tackle these together. Division will get us nowhere. So I'm calling today for a new partnership between Europe and the US for growth, for sovereignty and security. And this partnership, I will end with that, can be built on three pillars: greater commercial fluidity with the horizon of a genuine free trade agreement between the US and Europe, reciprocal investment of our abundant savings on both sides of the Atlantic to support growth and employment, and the defense of the rule of law, social justice, sustainable development as cornerstones of our social contracts. I hope that the flourishing of our economies and trade will serve not only for its own sake, but also to support the principle of liberty that founded both the United States and the European Union. And I'm ready to take questions or remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Your Excellency. So essentially what you're saying is that reports that the Statue of Liberty may be taken back are overblown. We can keep her? Can we keep her?
It has been a gift.
Gift. So from the remarks, essentially what you're saying is you want to get a deal with the president.
Of course.
Walk me through this then, because just a few days ago, you said that the removal of Jerome Powell would be catastrophic for the US economy, catastrophic for the US dollar. What did you mean by that?
You know what Nixon said? He said that the US dollar was our currency and your problem. He says that to the Americans. So the US dollar is your currency and we don't want it to be our problem. And when we have seen the market turmoil in the last few days, especially on the fixed income market, that's not a problem for the US, it's a problem for the world. Yeah. And so the US remains the anchor currency of the global economy. And it is important, and we are part of that system. So that was my only remark. And I've seen that President Trump concur.
Your predecessor suggested that the EU, or rather the euro, could become another global reserve currency. Do you see that happening?
The leading anchor currency is US dollar, and I believe it is important that it stays like that. Euro can be an alternative, and there are more and more foreign reserves denominated in euro, but the euro is not challenging the US dollar. I mean, I think the current balance is a good balance for the global economy. It has helped us to develop trade, to develop growth. So stability is important for us.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the issues that you face closer to home. You have an enormous budget deficit and you've got the highest tax rate amongst your European colleagues. Where are you going to cut? Because you got to.
When you speak, when I met my opposite number, Scott Bessent, we share many things, and what we share is the same budget issues. The US deficit last year was 7%. In France, it was 5.8%, and with both target 3% with different method. We have a high tax rate, it's right, but it went down to where it was in 2012. So we brought it down since Emmanuel Macron is president, and will continue to cut taxes. The budget will not increase taxes for corporate or for people. And what we do, we just maintain expense flat. And if we do that, and we are going to do that, we will bring back deficit to 3%. We will stabilize debt, and that will allow us to have an agenda of economic growth, cutting red tape, developing business, and we have to catch up with the growth of especially the United States. And the agenda of the European Union with Ursula von der Leyen is an agenda of competitiveness, growth. And by the way, I know that you want us to invest in the US. We do, as I said, but welcome also to invest in Europe. That will be a land of growth in the coming years.
But there must be somewhere, when you look at the budget, where you were prepared to cut. If you could pick anything, and you can.
If you compare the budget of, let's say, France and the US, then for the US, you should include the cost of health and the cost of pensions. In France, it is in the budget, it is paid by taxes. In the US, it is paid by the people. It's a huge difference. And the cost of health in the US, as a proportion of GDP, is 50% higher than in France. So we believe our system, which is true, is a lot of it is in the hands of public interest, health, pensions, family policies, but it's working well if we can balance it, and it allows us to have the level of growth and the wealth that we have. I totally agree. It has to be improved. We are working on it.
So you're open to cutting the budget?
And cutting the budget, we have to cut the budget in real terms. But again, if you look at what we have to do, let's take defense. The United States rightly said to us, you have to take care of your own defense. That's right. Macron has been saying that in the last 7 years. We have to finance that. So within the same level of expense, we have to increase the share of defense. And so we have to cut the rest proportionally. And we believe we can do that, and we will do that.
I want to ask you about the nuclear deterrent. There are a lot of questions about if the United States is not defending Europe, how will Europe defend itself? You obviously have a nuclear deterrent. Are you prepared to charge your EU partners for that defense? It only seems fair.
What we have seen in the last decades is nuclear deterrence does not prevent war, unfortunately. We have a war in Europe between a country having the nuclear weapon, Russia, and a country which does not. So the first way to make sure we are in safety in the coming decades is to have a strong conventional defense, and that's where we will invest. And that will be the priority. Because
But France can't fund that alone. I mean, what I'm asking is, would you expect that your European partners pay a fair share of that defense?
We are not there yet at all. Again, our priority is to build a conventional defense because we believe that that will be the rule of the game in the next decades. There are demands of our partners to discuss on nuclear defense. That's the responsibility of the president.
So you're not ruling it out, though?
I don't take that point which relates exclusively to the president.
Tell me this, there's a deal being worked on between the EU and the UK, your partners. The reports have said that officials on both sides are denying this has anything to do with fishing rights. If it isn't fishing rights, what's the problem?
We have to settle the consequences of Brexit. What is happening in the world today, and again, I made a call to strengthen the relationship between the US and the EU, but it's clear that our British friends want to get closer again to the Union. My opposite number, Rachel Reeves, attended to the closing dinner of the summit of European Ministers of Finance. I can share a secret with you. There's no media. We're talking about every week together on various issues, and that's great. Because even if Great Britain is not part anymore to European Union, they are still in Europe. And especially when it gets to defense, but not only, we have a lot of common interest and we are dealing with it. And it's true that we came closer in the last couple of months, and that's fine.
We've still got a timeline. When do you anticipate that deal getting done?
With the Americans? Well, the sooner the better. I have a number of exchanges. As you know, the negotiation is led by Maroš Šefčovič for the Commission, but various countries are contributing to it. We are ready to deal anytime.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to you.